recording. Hi, and welcome to the Skeptical Leftist podcast, the show where I talk to a variety of people to spread critical thinking, progressive politics, and left-wing philosophy. And today I'm joined by Nick Girard. Thanks for joining me.
What's up, Corey? Thanks for having me. Excited to be on your show.
Right on.
And you're in Canada, right?
Yes, I live in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Okay. I'd like to start off. I'd like to apologize on behalf of all Americans. I don't know if you noticed. I did a post a little while ago. I was like, Canada, Mexico, America is sorry. We don't know what's going on in the United States. I'm sure we'll get into this a little more, but it's America. We apologize to Canadians. We're your friends. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I always like to start off with like just an introduction. Sure. Like, who are you and what do you want people to know about you?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So I am a author, and I also work to pay the bills. I have a job in the financial sector, which I can't stand, but I've been, I hope you don't mind me telling you, being transparent right off the bat, but I graduated college with a lot of student loan debt and didn't want a job, needed a job. And so started in the financial world, and I'm still doing that, unfortunately, but that's actually what got me into writing, because I despise the work I do so much, and I wanted more purpose. And so I've always had interest in writing, and just kind of started writing after I would get mad after leaving work, and the stories kind of started progressing, and I came writing this book in the beginning.
Yeah, it's too bad that you're at a job that you hate. But
I know. Well, yeah, we'll get to that a little bit too. But yeah, a lot of my writing is centered around not doing what I want to do in life.
Right.
It led me to writing this book. So yeah, that's kind of.
What did you always want to do?
I never knew.
That's fair.
I started college when I was 18. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and I didn't have any idea when I was at college what to major in. I had just kind of got involved in economics. I didn't like it.
Right.
Just did it, and then I not. In a way, I'm almost glad, because it made me realize that I wanted to write. And when I say write, like I write with purpose. Like, my goal is to inspire people through my writing, and that's
right.
So it's not that I'm just writing, it's a work of fiction, but it's also the meaning behind it is to unite the world, to live together in peace. That's that. So I guess through hatred, it had revealed what I wanted to do, which is is to write. Yeah.
I think that could be a thing of many people on the political left, is that we hate the injustice of it all. We hate people suffering under the yoke of a capitalism, right?
Yeah. I like the way I like what you talk about in your shows too, because that's how I feel a lot. Is it okay if I go down this route?
Oh yeah, yep.
I don't want to get ahead or anything, but I mean, like when I was sitting at work, doing my mundane, horrible tasks in the financial world, and there's a TV playing on the background, and it's the news, and it's just how it is, just story after story of the worst things happening all across the globe.
Yeah, and
you did it very well. You get you just get upset, and what am I? And I was even more upset that what I was doing, that I wasn't doing anything to help. I wanted to make a difference somehow, but I'm burdened by student loan debt. What I felt so trapped, and it sucked me into this really depressing abyss.
Yeah.
And that's when I started writing. I was like, no, I want the world to be different. We shouldn't be at war. We shouldn't be fighting. We should all be unified together. And some people make fun of me. They say that sounds naive. I'm like, fine, tell me it's naive, but I don't agree with that. We should all have a collective world, one united world, where everyone has the ability to be paid a fair wage, have access to education and opportunity, so that we can all live in peace and have the means to have. I don't agree with excessiveness. I don't agree with excessive luxury. But to have basic, nice things so that they can live in a nice way. That's how what I'm trying to do with my writing, is to convince society to change.
Yeah.
But,
I guess I'm a utopian in a lot of ways. Like
Yeah,
I really despise the idea that it's naive to think that we could have a better world. Like, when
agreed.
this one is so shit, like,
I know. That's what gets me down so much. Is like you hear like every story is just terrible. It's been like this for, and it's not just now. It's been like this since the dawn of humanity. It's
yeah,
always been. That's what I can't take when and like I mean it just drove me to like I'd be on after work. I used to work in New York City. And I'd be on the
okay,
subway and like I had this little tiny little journal and I just kind of like you can't write on the subway in New York because it's so crowded. I'm like, but I
oh
could scribble down
jeez,
some things, yeah. And so then when my wife and I moved to Philadelphia, we there's a little more space on the subway, so I like really put pen to paper on the subway, just like
nice,
pounding it out, like a story to like make the world see that we can live different. Like you just said, like yeah, we this this earth is a beautiful place, and if we
yeah,
all supported human equality, we could all solve every single problem after that. And that's what I try to do in this book is like, I mean, in this book, I'm basically saying that we will never have human equality as long as religion exists. It's
ah,
basically trying to convince humanity to stop worshiping a God that allows the suffering of innocent life. To convince people that, look, you can't support someone that allows innocent life to suffer.
yeah,
And that suffering is all of me. If you allow innocent life to suffer, it means you don't support human equality. And
right,
that's kind of the take I'm doing that's different than most is I'm not trying to argue with people and say, oh, you can't, you shouldn't believe in God. Let people believe what they want to believe. You can't fight. I can't fight that. If you want to believe in magic, fine, believe in magic.
right,
So the story takes that route of basically a God that creates war and creates greed and as tools that humanity will then use to destroy the earth.
ah,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy topic, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. Sorry, we just brought on like, oh my god, bringing up the most controversial things on the
Well, no,
planet. I
that's
apologize.
perfect. No, that's perfect. I mean, we don't try to shy away from controversial topics here.
Yeah, I
So,
like that.
yeah,
Good company that we're in together here.
yeah. I, I, uh, I'm an atheist, obviously. Like,
Me too.
I guess not obviously. I am an atheist.
I'm an
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so to me, the idea of a god seems like incoherent in a lot of ways. Like,
Good way to say it. I like that. Yeah.
and I really can't wrap my head around like the worship aspect of anything. Like, I don't know, something got into me as a kid like that. I can't worship anything.
I'm with you. Yeah. I mean,
So
if I'm worshiping anything, I mean, it's nature, I guess, like a
yeah,
tree,
sure.
the ocean. I guess appreciating. Maybe it's a better word than worship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, like I can
I'm with you.
appreciate things, but
Yeah.
yeah, for
And,
sure.
and I grew up religious, not like really, really devout, but like my family went to church because their family did, and so and their
Right.
and so on and so on. We just went,
Yeah. Because
and
that's what you do, right?
exactly. And then
Yeah.
I got to college, I went to church the very first weekend of college, and I never went again. And it just
Yeah.
wasn't a big decision for me either. It was just like it just naturally evolved, and it felt, and then you just start just saying to yourself like, what this is the kind of the problem. People
Yeah.
are worshiping something something that they think is good, but really isn't.
Right.
And that's what really got me going with writing was like, look, this is why the world is the way it is today. If we can get people on the same page, like I know a lot of what you talked about. What you talk about is the economy and politics. That's great. And
Yeah.
the people that are the a lot of the problems throughout history, the people that are not supporting human equality and involved in the wrong type of politics, they're all have one thing in common. They're all usually very religious. You know, they,
Yeah.
they're all they're most easily influenced people on the planet. We're having this problem here in the United States.
Yeah.
It's I don't it's
Yeah. You've got your like Christian nationalism
yeah,
is like the main thing going
yeah,
on right now. Like they kind of control the entire government.
exactly, and it's a strange feeling. It's in here in the U.S. is that there's obviously it's half and half. half the people don't want this and half the people do. And you're very, it just feels so wrong, that how people can be influenced by a religion that doesn't support human equality. And, that's, that really, I try to think of the biggest picture item to solve things, look, if everyone supports human equality, we can solve every single problem. We can build a united world. We can have, how I see it is that, in one unified world, has one military. And and let's say there's somewhere on the planet where an innocent life is suffering from some awful item, which is obviously happening today everywhere.
Right.
Everyone decides, okay, hey, in this area, there is innocent life suffering. We all agree. Here's the evidence. Okay, now let's all go in and say, country or area, we're coming in. We're going to save the innocent. The innocent people are going to come with us. We're going to, help them, and you guys have to change. It's one united decision. Now that's how I see it. I like what you said earlier, that you believe in a utopia as well, and I don't think it's not naive. That's how society should be. We should all want that. Sorry, I ramble. I get a little excited.
No worries.
Ramble a little.
I've talked about this a lot on the show too. Is like I've read like a number of books now over the last while that talk about like how humans in various situations, they actually come together and help each other, and how it's often the hierarchies and the series of people with domination in their minds that rule over us and force us into these other kinds of ways of doing things. And like, so to me, religion is one of those hierarchies of dominance, right? Like where they're like, okay, but I'm on top, and so I get to decide for you what's best.
Yeah. Why is that? Yeah, it's always like that too. It all stems. I feel like it all stems from religion.
Yeah, a lot of it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because like we usually have the news on in the background at our house, and yesterday there was a lot of talk about the new pope, and I just can't make myself care.
I know.
Like, yeah, I even if I'm like, okay, people are Catholic, okay, we can work with those people in various ways. But like, why do I care? Why does my government give a shit about who the Pope is?
I know. It seems so senseless that they're intertwined at all. I mean, they're still praying in the United States in Congress. They're still like it's ridiculous. Like but yeah, all of those people support it, and that's how they get their votes. They go right to the group that they can easily influence. And I'm not trying to offend anyone that watched your show or offend. I don't want to offend people out there and call them unintelligent, because that's not how we unite. But that is the issue. It just all of a sudden people are moved by one thing that they hear, and then that's it. That's what they're believing. That's what they're following. I think you actually. I was looking at a couple of your shows. You touched on it before. I think it was something about one of the episodes you have about the news, and like that basically no one's doing their due diligence. Like they hear news and it's immediate. Oh, that's what's happening, and that's all I need to hear. I don't need to do any other research. I don't need to think about anything else. It's the big picture thinking is what, and that's what comes from religion. It's not like thinking about the big picture. It's just like, this is what I believe in. I'm not questioning anything. There can't be anything else. I refuse to research anything.
Well, and it's just like, so how can you sit there and think that you're 100% right about your beliefs, and that like a person halfway around the world who believes in something completely different than that is like, they're just going to burn in hell, or they're just going to be suffering forever? Like, that seems pretty fucked up to me.
And that's one of the greatest points is like, they just believe that because they are from there. There's a person that's exactly like me, lives on the other side of the planet, and they just happen to be raised believing in something else because everyone there believes in it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it has a lot. Like, I mean, if you don't experience other cultures, other people, you're just going to believe what you are faced with each day. And if you're from like a very, I guess maybe not provincial is not the right. I mean, provincial perhaps. I don't like that word, but if you're from an area that is mostly everyone's the same and everyone
Right.
believes in the same thing and you don't go anywhere else, you're going to do that too. But
Yeah.
it should be every human's duty to evolve, to see, it's your duty as a human to always be, to always
Yeah.
say, okay, well, look, this person, like you just said, lives over there and they believe in this. Well, why do they believe in that? Let me look at
Right.
it. If you
Yeah.
look into it, like, I mean, it would kind of almost reveal itself to you. It's like,
Yeah. It seems like it has to, right? Because like,
yeah,
yeah, okay, so if I'm going to say they believe that because that's where they were raised and their family brought them up that way and it's the culture that they grew up in, then how is my belief
yeah,
system different?
yeah,
You have to start analyzing yourself in the same way. And it becomes really hard to maintain your belief systems after you start doing that.
it does. And it's, I mean, I, I think that's the best way people can analyze it for themselves. Either just do a little traveling, you
Yeah.
know? But then we get to another topic too, is that, traveling is expensive.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very expensive to go to the other side of the world. But in this day and age, and not just today, like, I mean, we do have the internet. It's not just used for social media.
Yeah.
Like,
That's right.
there are amazing things about the internet, and that is to see what that goes on in other countries. It's short-sighted behavior is just running rampant since the dawn of humanity. Like,
Yeah.
it's there's so many humans that are just part of that. I like to always bring up the example I feel about religion or the political situation going on in the United States right now is Beauty and the Beast. You've ever seen the Disney cartoon?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, remember when Gaston is like, oh, the beast is going to come after your children. He's going to eat them in the night. We must stop him. And all the townspeople are like, well, yeah, we should just kill the beast. You're right, Gaston. No questions. No big
Yeah.
picture. Let's just get the torches. Go kill this poor beast. And we don't even know. Yeah.
The beast that has been there for their whole lives and has never come to their house before and stolen their children before. But now, because someone said it, yeah.
Gaston's right. It's always this charismatic, kind of bombastic leader who just influences you. And it's just, it's rough. And I've never felt like I do at this moment in time. I'm 42 years old and I was never very political growing up. I just didn't really, my family wasn't political. We lived and we did what we did,
Right.
And politics wasn't really discussed. It just wasn't what we did. And but now, yeah, I feel like the need to reach as many people as I can and not to do what you've usually done, which is insult people and call people stupid. You want to? I mean, I can't help it. I mean, I do it anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I want to have it. I feel like we're just at such a turning point in society, and you feel really bad being an American right now, because especially when you talk to anyone from another country, I feel like I want to have like a badge, like a scarlet letter that says, "No, I don't support the current administration." And
Right.
if you're a good American, you don't. You feel like you need to tell it to people because it feels like just a situation I've never felt before. It's an odd feeling within me. I try not to obsess about it too, but it's difficult. My wife and I talk all the time.
It's tough too because I always like I'm from Canada, but like I worry about my friends who are down in the States who are outspoken about their political views and like recently like Hassan Piker was detained by Homeland Security when he came into the country, and you go like, okay, that can happen to somebody who's been a lifelong citizen.
Yeah.
Like,
how is that happening? Yeah.
Like what's like, like how do you feel safe in a country like that?
And it makes you feel like it makes you feel that makes you question the future. It's like how bad is this possibly going to get?
Right.
You can't help thinking that, and it's difficult. But I mean, that's why it's good to have what you do. Your show is what we need. Having these conversations that we're having right now to like be out there. I don't.
Yeah, it's good to have hopeful conversations on some level because
exactly.
it can be so like doom and gloom. Like if you just look at
Uh,
all the bad shit, it can be hard, like even for myself to maintain optimism sometimes.
yeah. You get stuck in it. Like I'll find myself, like I had to tell myself to stop like scrolling through the news.
Yeah.
I'll be at work, all of a sudden I'll be sitting there and like, I'm anxious about something at work, and I'll use the news as like medicine to like distract myself. So,
And that's just not going to work that
yeah,
way.
yeah. It doesn't help. So I have to walk
Yeah.
through that. I'm like, no, right now, like in the morning, I'll go through. I'm like, okay, I want to be aware of what's going on. I'll look and make sure I know what's going on.
It's kind of funny. I after uh, Donald Trump's first term, like I was so burnt out from paying attention to the news every single day that I had to stop with the like daily podcasts and like every single like constantly looking at what was happening. And then for a couple of years, I kind of fell out of it and just tried to focus on doing like a productive thing that could help people see the world differently.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm very critical of Joe Biden and the Democrats and all that stuff. And so I maintained that, but I wasn't watching the news every single day.
Yeah.
And now I'm finding myself in watching the news every single day again.
I know.
And it's like, this is not actually as helpful as maybe I think it should be.
It's not like all the other presidents were amazing, or they're all it's all a mess. It's all a mess.
Yeah.
Like before the election, like you talk to people out in public, and you're like, and people like there's a park near us, and they have like vendors that sell their pottery and flowers and jewelry, and every of those kind of places is usually on the same page. Like everyone's for the greater good on those kind of things. Public park and their own independent self selling their things. And like people want to talk about this, but you're like kind of worried, like, all right, are you cool, man? Like, are you on the right what side? Okay, it's a little bit like at first to see what someone believes in.
Yeah, for sure.
And then once you do, everybody's like, oh my God, can you believe what we're going through right now? And this was right before the election, right when Harris, and we're talking to this individual there, and we're just like, look, I feel like there's a lot of good people that are for Harris. I think it feels good. And then obviously what happened, and it's just like I just, when you talk to people for a while, we're just like, what are we gonna do? What and they're just like comforting people and trying to like be sane about it, like you're saying right now. And it's just it's why we're doing what we're doing now. It's like, look, there is optimism. We have to unite together. And
that's like right.
The only thing to do.
Something that so there's also like all these great organizations that are out there, like helping people that need help and like, providing medication to women who want to remove their pregnancies.
Yeah,
and like, there's all these people doing it behind the scenes in a way, like kind of like without, because the state is obviously doing what it's doing, like the U.S. government is doing what it's doing. And there's still people doing good things that we can't always see, and it's not covered by the mainstream news. So it's important to be aware of these things too. And that I think is a pretty helpful, with optimism, I guess.
Yeah. Like we're out there, like there's a lot of Americans that are great.
Yeah.
To support human equality. It's just the others that don't, it's all over the world too. It's been happening.
It is.
Beginning of humanity, and that's
the last decade, last 20 years or so. Like there's been like a resurgence of kind of like far right politics just coming from like all over the place, right? No, that's all right.
Yeah, the far right items have been progressing all over the world. I mean, I think that bad men are a big part of the problem. I like to talk to my wife a lot about that. Is that bad humans don't support human equality, and a lot of bad humans, most of them are men. That they want to, and a lot of those men most of them are religious. It's like within them to dominate. You mentioned that before. I like that you said that. They want to have power over others, to dominate. Yeah. It stems from the God they worship. You worship a God. God's usually a man, and that trickles down into how people think. It's like, I'm a man. I'm more important. I rule my family. I
Right.
provide for them. And then that just keeps on trickling down to the children and so on and so on. And, like, and people have been more willing to be open about those things. And I think that scares all
Yeah.
of these religious people and the people from the far right, because they feel like their way of life is dying and will be no more. So this resurgence, I feel like, is just men getting back together again, saying, "Oh, I'm upset about this too, and so are you. All right, now we're all banded together." And they're always the loudest, most
Yeah.
obnoxious, and the most terrible people are those people. They make the most noise. The people that are on the good side are peaceful people.
Yeah, that's right.
Easygoing people. Like, let's take it easy. Oh, you want to believe that? Oh, you're not harming anyone? Do as you wish. It's none of my concern.
Yeah, that's right.
Good people aren't like that. And so, yeah. And what gets a lot of media attention are those bad people, because it's good
Yeah.
for the news, because it's all over and everyone tunes into the news, and that's how the news makes money. And
Yep.
that cycle is just, it's terrible.
Yeah. I think of like the Joe Rogan thing where I think he stole the quote, obviously, but it was like, good times make weak men make bad times make strong men, or some nonsense. And I was like, this is kind of a fucking fashy kind of weird saying.
Very. Like, what are you saying? Strong men? Like, what is it's always strong men. They go to battle and they fight. And like,
right.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I never understood this whole, like, mix, like, they're always into the fighting, of boxing and mixed martial arts. Not there's anything. Well, actually, I guess I don't mind. I'll say it. I think there is something wrong with that. It's always
that's fair.
Fighting. And
I'm
like,
that's fair.
Maybe you guys, we should do something else. Like, that doesn't define being masculine. You know, it's more masculine to be empathetic. And
right.
That's a weakness or something. I'm like, what? It makes you an empathetic human is an intelligent human. It's an involved human. It's easy to fight. It's easy to pick up it's easy to to clench your fist and punch someone in the face. It's more difficult to engage in a dialogue with them and see how they feel and then talk to them. It's more difficult. Yes. But for God's sake, like, it's for the best. You're not physically hurting someone. Speak to them. There's a big problem with men. It's just that,
it's that I mean, there obviously there's a lot of cultural factors that play into that, and many of those are from religion. Like, you get like you say, like the domineering kind of male head of household in many religions. They enforce that like pretty strictly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest problems, is that if you support human equality, you support gender and non-binary equality. We are equal. And religion does not support that. It is not equal. And when I say religion, I'm not going to say any specific religion, but the biggest religion we've all heard of on the planet. They all pretty much support the same thing. It's a very male-dominated culture.
Yeah,
and that is the problem, and that it's just, that's why I'm so adamant about convincing people to stop worshiping God. It's just that, look, if you can see, and I have I do is I send this book, free copies, all over the world. I mean, I meet people on Instagram. We'll connect over like a silly post that I do or something, and I'll befriend them, and we'll interact. And eventually, sometimes we'll ask someone, "Hey, would you like a free book?"
Right.
And I've sent books. I mean, everywhere. I mean, Pakistan, Jordan, India, Australia, all over the world, and with the hope that gets into the hands of someone who is religious and sees it as like, look, this is interesting, because it's challenging my God. This book is challenging all gods and all religions, telling them that you shouldn't worship this God because God's allowing a bomb to be dropped on an innocent life in some country. I can't worship a God that allows that to happen. How can you? That's what I'll say to someone. And I'll get into debates with people, and the way I do it is respectful. Like we were talking earlier, like, I'm not saying you're not intelligent. I ask them, I'm like, look, you should join me.
Right.
We should band together. You should challenge your God. Say, look, God, how can you let this occur? How can you let someone die from a bomb? How can you let a child at a school die? How can you let a child die in a school shooting? I can't. Your God allows it to occur and could do something about it, but chooses not to. That's evil. You shouldn't worship evil. And I like that statement because it's unarguable.
Right.
I've had a few conversations with religious people on social media, and it gets heated, but I'm respectful, like I was saying. But that point can't be denied. And I've had a few conversations end with them saying, like, well, okay, I guess I'll stop talking to you, And that's kind of how it ends.
Yeah.
But I like that because if I can push that, what that's doing is creating doubt,
Right.
It's really powerful like that. And this is going to take generations, but the more doubt we create, the more people will eventually stop. Like if you doubt worshiping your God because God allows suffering events in life, you'll eventually realize you shouldn't worship God, which will eventually mean you shouldn't believe in God, which will eventually mean be the end of religion.
Right. Yes, especially like I kind of get like the Spinoza's God type stuff, like where you can't really define it, or like it's like this thing that's like, God created the universe and then sits back and does nothing. Okay, good. Whatever. Then it's irrelevant to my life.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you start getting into these like specific groups, like the evangelical Christians, or like I know, like right now, a lot of Muslim people are being discriminated against in many parts of the world, but I find their religion has many similar roots and many similar issues, and then you see like even like Hinduism in India right now is being used as a cudgel to dominate and murder people, and it's like So how can even these specific religions, like how do they justify the religious beliefs that they have to use them in that way? And just like it seems like, I don't know, it just seems really backwards to me.
It is. I think we can say that it's backwards. It's not right. It's wrong. It is wrong. Any time you feel the need to dominate over someone else, to control someone else strictly because you're a man, or because you're stronger than someone else,
right?
Wrong, and that's how it. And that's how it's always been. It's always been the same thing, and we're always fighting over the same items. Not everyone supports racial equality, gender, non-binary equality, not supporting gay marriage, being born gay, and one of the things I like. You mentioned the Pope. What's interesting is that they will. Maybe I think it was the last Pope. They'll come out and say, "Oh, we support people that love God. We support being gay. We support." I'm like, but one of the things they'll say is that they don't support intimate behaviors between humans of the same sex. And I love that, because then I'm like, if you don't support that, that means you do not support gay being.
That's born. Right.
And that's all. That's all there is to it. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And so it's and if you're not supporting how someone was born, then you don't support human equality. I always bring it back to that, and it can be a good argument to use with anyone who is religious. And
the like Pope Francis, he was always like considered the woke Pope, right? But even though he'd always hedge everything, like he'd always say like, I support the right for trans people to exist, but I don't support the idea that a person can change genders, or they'll hedge every single thing. It's like, I love you unconditionally, but under these conditions.
Exactly. No. Then you don't.
Exactly.
It's very binary with support. Either you do or you don't. And I take that same road here with politics in the U.S. Like I did a post when good Americans don't support Trump.
Right.
And, I got a few, not a ton, but a few negative things like that coming back from Trump supporters who were like, well, what's a good American? I'm like, well, a good American supports human equality. And I'm like, not only a good American, a good human. I'm like, Trump does not support human equality. He does not support pro-choice. And he's guilty of sexual assault.
Right. Yeah.
And those two arguments, I think that I like to supply people with good statements. I try to think of like really succinct, tight language that nobody can argue with. That's how
Right.
you talk to a religious person or a Trump supporter. And I'm like, I can't support someone who's guilty of sexual assault. How can
Right.
And there's articles out there. Where he denies it. I'm like, oh, so if someone accused me of that and I was innocent, the only thing I would do was prove my innocence. That's the only thing that's important to do. And if that was on my criminal record, I couldn't get a job doing anything in the entire world. Why is it okay in politics?
Yeah.
I mean, it disgusts me. It's like,
yeah, and like he was like, and I'm not a big fan of the court system, but like he was proven guilty in a court.
Exactly.
And so how can you say, well, he denies it and have that be good enough? Like,
no.
At what point are you going to take the word of the victim or victims and believe them?
Yeah.
Like, instead of the person who's being accused. Like,
yeah.
It seems very strange to me that they will always, if it suits them, they will always side with the person who's being accused and never with the victim.
I know, always. Like you, and that's like I have to think of the president as the CEO of a corporation. Any CEO getting interviewed, if they have like Trump obviously has a very disturbing legal history.
Yeah.
Any of those things would be an immediate disqualification for any role in the world, let alone the role of a CEO of a company. A CEO of a company, you're out. I'm sorry. Like, oh, you say you didn't do this? Good. Do your thing. Figure yourself out. But it's too risky for us. And this position,
that's right.
It's like you can't have that question existing. Like, no. And I like to lay it out very simply. He's unqualified because he's undignified. He has poor relationship management skills, and he has a disturbing history with the law. That would disqualify you from any job on the planet, let alone the presidency.
Yeah. He's definitely and he's factually been involved in fraudulent things.
Yeah.
And I don't have to hedge. Like he's a con artist.
Yeah. So, lazy salesperson that got you know what? Who's the easiest group to influence in the United States? The religious people, the conservative people. And that's exactly what we just discussed. They just gravitated forward, got the torches, and here we are. In the same situation we've been in forever. It's just, I feel, I've done a couple of posts where I'm like, world, we apologize, America. It's not all of us,
It's pretty extreme, the impact that one person like that can have all over the whole world. It's amazing to me that he has so much power that he can impact the economy of countries that are, everywhere. Every country is impacted by the actions of this one megalomaniac.
Yeah.
And that seems fucked up.
Yeah.
we should have a world where that's the case.
I know. It really I want this to be a turning point, Corey. I mean, I really want it to be. Everyone in the US is loves Canada, Mexico, every other country in the world. There's the good people here have to realize that these politicians don't care about us.
Yeah.
They're salespeople. The entire system isn't working. And you talk a lot about capitalism on your show, and I like that because we need a system that isn't. If you're going to allow people to make as much money as they want, there should be some sort of regulation where, look, if we cut down all the trees, we're making money. Oh yeah, but what if all the trees don't exist, you idiots? It's just so short-sighted. We can't have that. We need more people with integrity in these positions. And that's what there's a lack. If you had, let's say you invent something today and you make $1 billion, and so do I. Well, I guarantee that you and I would be billionaires for one day. This money, I will just give it away. I would love to do that. It's why aren't these people doing that? Why aren't they this is the poorest country or the poorest town in the world. I'm going to go in there with teachers and supplies, and I'm going to set this. That's what we're going to do. Why are these people doing that for money, Corey?
It makes me think of when Elon Musk said like, oh yeah, if you can give me a plan for curing homelessness with my money, then I'll do it. What are
Yeah,
you? Then what are
yeah,
you talking about, man? Like,
really, like,
yeah,
yeah. But another billionaire man who likes having his power, likes
yeah,
being heard, and I feel like these billionaires are just ruining the world for us.
yeah.
They're everywhere, and they buy the media. Now they got a voice. Now we all have to listen to them. We all have to do what they want to do, and now it's creeped into politics. Usually, politics wasn't the billionaires traditionally. I mean, I mean, I
Here
guess I
or
should
there. Yeah,
take that.
yeah.
It wasn't like as deep into it. I feel like, and now I feel like they're just
It's so obvious, right? Like
yeah,
it's become like the politics is so clearly in service of the billionaires at
yeah,
this point. Like and then they do these things like you don't hear much about it right now, but then they shoot rockets into the sky for their own personal little trips
yeah.
to space, and these things emit more emissions than like half of Canada
Yeah.
does driving for a whole year.
Like,
Like
for God's
how
sake, the
like,
priorities.
that's right. Like, shouldn't we have some sort of like not letting them do this shit?
Yeah, that is an excellent point. It's like, where is like the HR of the government that's not on the side of management, on the side
Right.
of us, the
Yeah.
people, for God's sake? And what you and I going to do? Are we gonna get the torches and go to Washington, drag these guys out? I mean, I can't. I mean, I guess I could do that. I'm not going to. I mean, unless we get to there. Unless we get to
You better get enough people with you. That's the thing.
yeah. It's
And it's unfortunate too, because even if you did, the response would be very different than it was for the January 6th situation.
Can you imagine?
If the left did it or a minority did it,
Oh yeah.
or it would be cracked down and there would be deaths. There would be many, many deaths.
Sure.
And like, but all the January 6th
Not for
guys
those guys.
not for those guys. They're all fine.
Pardon those guys. Like, how is any president given the ability to pardon someone? Oh,
Yeah.
is it illegal?
No.
Not anymore. Nope. I say it's okay. Like, what is like?
Yeah.
It's
wild.
the worst system you could ever imagine is what is happening, and it's not new. It's just another repetitive cycle, Corey. We've been doing this
for sure.
forever.
And, yeah, you could maybe say that it's ramped up, like because it sort of has over the last. I've got kind of a side project that I'm working on where I like kind of look at like I've been looking at the history of various right-wing pundits and their rhetoric and how it's impacted culture and like I'm only partway through it, but I have this broad vision.
I like that. Good virtuous project. Good for you.
And and it seems like to me that there is like a escalation, like even since like your early talk show radio preachers who were anti-communists and they were or they were pro-segregation and stuff like that, and like even compared to them, I feel like the mainstreaming of some of those attitudes has kind of ramped up.
Interesting. That's a good project to do. And I feel, my wife and I feel that way. Like exactly what you're saying. Like, it's like, yeah, you just feel like it's out there more. It's like more accepted. It's like, when did it become cool to be a complete jerk?
Right.
Like, I think too, it's like these guys, like, I feel like these guys are so unevolved and they can't, no girl wants to be with these guys. They're all just men hanging out with each other. And like, because it takes too much work for them to evolve into a empathetic man. It's easy for them to just close down and say, no, everybody else is wrong. Let's all band together, man. It's all these men that just can't get dates and they don't want to change. And then they're all pounding their fists, hanging out. I'm like, it doesn't seem very masculine. Like, don't you want to try and maybe do something nice if you want to get a girl, perhaps? You know what you're doing?
No. There's something wrong with the women because they don't want to be with them. It's them.
Oh,
It's not that you're an unlikable monster. It's that women are too feminized or they're just too much in feminist.
They want to control them. It's like, no, you fool! Like, change, evolve. Like switch. They're like, oh, how do I change? I'm like, read a goddamn book for God's sake.
One book is all it takes.
Get off your social media scrolling
Yeah.
feeds about guns and ammunition and
Right.
trucks. For God's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, Greg.
Just it's funny because for a lot of years, like they used to talk about how the left was in the echo chambers and we were all siloed and we weren't listening to conservatives and as somebody who lives in a conservative area, I heard this all the time and I'm like, why would I spend my life online talking to right wingers and conservatives when I do that all day, every day?
Yeah. Why should I do that more? Like
in my spare time, I'm supposed to also listen to you guys and
give me a break.
Yeah. And it seems to me too that like the right wingers, because they live in these kind of like Saskatchewan is a very conservative province. There are progressives here, but it's a very conservative province. And the vast majority of people, they just walk around assuming that everybody agrees with them.
Yeah.
You know, where I walk around assuming that nobody agrees with me.
That's a good way to live, though.
It's a very different experience, I think.
Well, hey, Saskatchewan's like similar like states in the states here. You know, I mean, I'm sure you're very familiar with areas of the United States. Like, yeah, we all like know the areas. Like it's and those people don't go anywhere else. They just stay where they are. And it's like you want to encourage. God, I mean, the world I see is just like connected. You know, I'd love to go to Russia and live for 2 years and pay taxes and so that for whatever. And I could easily go to China next and Afghanistan, you know, like women from Afghanistan should come to the United States and live in New York City for a year, some sort of, you know, school program. You know, that's how we should be living. It just seems so simple, you know?
For sure. I mean, I'm an abolish borders guy. So,
all right. Hey. All right, Corey.
To me, that makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. It does.
So I don't understand the fear of the other.
I know
in that way. Like they're all like, well, if we abolish the border, like then so many people will come here, and like so what? Like I just
we're scared of it. Oh my God!
Yeah, like why?
Like I mean,
different. Exactly.
We should be wanting that. We want diversity. We want to see how someone else operates, and you learn so much from traveling to a new area. You really like. We went to my wife and I went to Vietnam a couple of years ago. Okay. One of the greatest experiences we've ever had. Is this I mean, everything is completely different, and I mean, I learned like. You learn better ways to live. Like the coffee I drink now, I'm drinking because I learned I loved it, and I learned about it over there. The way the travel works in Vietnam. I mean, the way people act together. Like you learn a lot of different social items that are helpful, and you would never learn that if you didn't go there. You know, and just getting out of but it's uncomfortable to travel. You know, it's uncomfortable things, and people want the same thing. No, it's hard to pull out of that.
Yeah, it's tough, eh? Like I know, obviously travel is very expensive. It's been made through as with everything, it's been made so that the average person has a hard time achieving these things.
Yeah.
But if you're able to, it's a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah, it's one of the most important things to do, and everyone should. And the opportunity to travel is what everyone should have, and we can't get there until we change the way our economy operates, where everyone is paid a reasonable wage, and we're not paying taxes for things like war. For God's like I mean, imagine all the extra money we'd have. I mean, if we're not buying like the defense, that's what we spend our money on. That's what everyone's spending all their money on.
Yeah.
And if
like to the tune of like $1 trillion or something.
And the United States is one of the biggest exporter of weapons is the United States. That's how we make our money. And that's why no one wants to put any regulations in place in the US because they want guns produced. And everyone's tied to it. You know, everyone's part of their 401k holds some stock in some military company. You know, it's all tied to it. We all have to address it as a collective. Like, look, what are we gonna we gonna keep building guns the rest of our lives to fight each other, or are we gonna change?
If my mic. If you make a society where people have adequate support as they age, then you don't have to have 401ks, and you don't have to have registered retirement savings plans that are invested in giant corporations that export war and death.
Well said, Corey. Well said. Yes, here, Corey. We're on the same page, my man.
You got to actually do something different. You can't just keep doing the same things and expecting different results.
That's how short-sighted everybody is in politics, especially when they have 4 years to either get reelected, make enough money, or they can take out ads so they can get reelected. It's just the model is built to fail.
There used to be like a people would talk about like CEOs always looking like being short-sighted because they were always looking to the next quarter.
Yeah,
they're always looking at the finances, and they're so short-sighted in that way. But also like politicians are short-sighted in their terms.
Yeah,
and then like you get like the rest of us, we're all thinking in these same ways where it's like, oh well, I just gotta do well until the company does well next quarter, or I just gotta make do until my preferred politician is in office next time.
Yep.
And it's just like
a decade later, then
like we have to actually like you say, like look at it long term. Like we actually have to plan for the well-being of humanity.
And everyone needs to accept that it's going to take a long time. This is not a decade. This is several generations until we get this fixed. So I mean, it's the here and now, Corey. God damn it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, it's
same page with it.
Yeah, but we're getting up almost close to an hour, so we really should talk about your book a little bit before it's time to go. So the book is In the Beginning.
Yes, and so the story is about an evil God that chooses to torture humanity. God creates greed, money, power, and war, gives it to humans as tools that they will use to destroy the earth. So in this book, God is evil. The devil is good. They're fighting for control over humanity. They're using humans to change existence. And instead of God creating the earth, I have the devil creating it. And the devil creates the earth as a gift for God, a beautiful gift for God. I then describe God as like this evil, power-hungry tyrant that is jealous of the beautiful earth that Lucifer created and decides to destroy it with a plague, the plague of humanity. So a reversal of the traditional beliefs that humanity has for heaven and hell. And it challenges, like we were saying before, the book challenges God by asking this question: why should we worship a God that allows the suffering of innocent life?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm directly challenging all gods and all religions, and with a purpose. I know it comes off, this is an extremely controversial book. I've sent this book to people who have told me they're religious. And they're like, look, I'm really religious. I can't finish reading your book because it's offensive. Because they shouldn't worship their God. Their God is evil. Their God allows disease and war and innocent life to suffer. So yes, it is very, very controversial, against the status quo, very unorthodox. However, it does center around the need for world peace, equality, and true love. That's what I'm trying to do in this book. That's why I sent it out. That's why I want to be on podcasts like yours, is to talk about how we can do this. And this book will convince you to not worship God.
Well, that's awesome.
That's what the book is about.
Oh, that's cool. Like I say, I haven't read it yet, but I did read. I think you sent an excerpt. And I thought it was very very interesting writing. Like it flows very well. You're obviously a good writer. I hope people can pick the book up and kind of check it out.
You can find it right on Amazon. If you just put in Nick Girard in the search function, they'll come right up. It is an intense adventure for sure.
Are you writing another one, or is there more projects?
I want to write another book, but I mean, the only way I was able to finish this book is because I was unemployed for like 6 months. Like, if you want to write well, you have to have time. And like, I mean, That's why I'm trying so hard to get this off the ground. Like, I need the time to write. So
Yeah.
I want to write a continuation of this book, which will be even more intense. Like, really, well, I don't know. How about against what's going on in the world right now, bringing those justice. It's all. I'm big on like vengeance in these books.
Yeah.
Like a cross between like A Time to Kill and like American Psycho. It's very and Romeo and Juliet in there too. It's a romance as well. But I want to write again, and I will. Just I don't know.
Got to find the time.
Yeah. So I quit this awful job I'm in right now. I can maybe write full time, but working on it.
Yeah. No, and I for my coworkers and bosses listening, I don't hate my job. But I do relate to the discontent that comes from working in an industry that doesn't match your value set.
Yeah.
And like I'm pretty far to the left and
good, me too.
And it doesn't fit well with any kind of corporate structure.
It doesn't, right?
So, yeah, they don't like that. And most bosses don't like to hire people that are constantly questioning their authorities. So.
There's nothing better than questioning authority. I love it.
Yeah,
Gotta go against the grain. That's how change is made. So I'm on the same page as you, Corey. Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess besides that, where can people find you if they want to find you online?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram. My name is Nick D. Girard, and I'm very approachable. Like, I love talking with people on Instagram. That's how I reach people. And look, if you're interested in a book, in my book, like, reach out to me. I'll send you a copy for free. I love sending out free copies. I do it all the time, and I'd love to talk to you more about it because this is it's a great topic, and the most important topic probably in the world right now is how we can achieve world peace. That's how we solve the world's problems. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And you do a bunch of reels. You have a bunch of reels on your Instagram.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I do two kind of posts. I do like a more political, social, controversial post, and then the other half of the time I'm doing like a really silly post, like me dressed up like a bear, or like. It's funny because like. My posts don't really match the book because the book is it's pretty intense and violent and controversial, and you wouldn't get that at all from the post that I do it. So someone, and they're like, I wasn't expecting this, but I'll warn someone like, look, I know I come off as pretty goofy, which I am,
but the book is pretty serious.
But the book is it's a little different than that. It is a little intense, but I always say, I'm like, look, it is intense, but it's the purpose of it is to achieve world peace and equality and true love. That's the meaning of it.
Right on.
Yeah, intense stuff for sure, but for a good purpose.
Right on. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, Corey, great chat with you. I love these kind of conversations. Thanks for having me. You have a great show.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, Corey.